What is going on, everybody? My name is Keenan Costain, and welcome back to another episode of Hornets Recaps. And on today's episode, we'll be discussing the Charlotte Hornets' victory over the New Orleans Pelicans, 102-95. And without further ado, let's go over the box score and stats throughout this game. Alright, so taking a look at some notables throughout the box score in this game for some players, we have LaMelo Ball, 24 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 8 for 20 from the field, 3 for 14 from 3. Con Knipple, 17 points, 9 rebounds, 2 assists, 4 for 13 from the field, 4 for 12 from 3. And Ryan Kalkbrenner, the rookie, which and Ryan Kalkbrenner had 10 points, 7 rebounds, 1 assist, 3 for 5 from the field, with 4 for 6 from the free throw line. For some notables for the New Orleans Pelicans, you had Trey Murphy the third scoring 27 points on 10 for 20 shooting, 3 for 8 from the 3-point line, 4 for 4 from the free throw line, along with 4 assists and 1 rebound. You had Herbert Jones with 12 points, 4 for 9 from the field, 4 for 7 from 3, along with 7 rebounds, 2 assists. And Zion Williamson with 14 points, 5 for 13 from the field, 4 for 9 from the free throw line, along with 11 rebounds and 4 assists. Taking a look at the team stats throughout this game, we had the Charlotte Hornets shooting 40% to the Pelicans 39.3%, and the three-point percentage, not so good for Charlotte, 24% to the Pelicans 32.4%, so a lot better there for New Orleans. 81.5% from the free throw line for Charlotte to the Pelicans 72%. Total rebounds 59-34, dominating once again on the glass for Charlotte. 13 offensive rebounds for Charlotte to the New Orleans Pelicans 5, and you had 46 for Charlotte, 29 for the Pelicans. The assist totals was 23 for New Orleans, so they win that one to Charlotte 16. The blocks 4-3, Pelicans winning that one. Steals 9-3, Pelicans winning that one, and 16 turnovers for Charlotte to the Pelicans 7. Points out turnovers 22 for New Orleans and 11 for Charlotte. In the paint, New Orleans with 42 and Charlotte with 32, and the points per possession with 0.97 for New Orleans, and the points per possession for Charlotte 1.01. Personal fouls was led by New Orleans with 23 to Charlotte 19, and the biggest lead for Charlotte was only 10, and the Pelicans' lead was 22. Now, my Hornets player of the game for this game yesterday was Grant Williams with 16 points, 9 rebounds, 1 assist, 5 for 7 from the field, 2 for 4 from 3, 4 for 4 from the free throw line, coming off the bench. And with Grant Williams, he was injured for the longest time, dealing with an Achilles and leg injury, and was out for the past 13 months. And this is by far the best game for Grant Williams for the season. So it was a huge step in the right direction for him, as he has played a significant role before he got hurt last season. And what a turnaround, shooting 5 for 7 from the field, 2 for 4 from 3. And he had a few jump shots that were on the line. And during the commentary yesterday, Eric Collins noted that he thought he had a couple more threes other than the 2 for 4 he shot yesterday, that being Grant Williams. And what a great turnaround coming off the bench, and it was a huge turnaround when it came to the bench points and with other players like Colin Sexton and others, which we'll get to in the next segment as well. So Grant Williams is my player of the game, and shout out to Enrique Garcia for I think actually getting this correct because when we talked on the phone, actually yesterday before this game started, he predicted at least 14 to 16 points. So Enrique, if you're watching this, Enrique, let me know if you got it right in the comment section below, or just let me know. Um, let me know at a future time. So once again, Grant Williams, the player of the game. So, what are my thoughts during this game? So, coming in, it was supposed to be a 7 o'clock tip-off time. It turns out to be a 3 o'clock game once again for the third time this year due to inclement weather circumstances with the snow happening throughout the southeast. And I hope everyone, like I keep saying in these videos that I've been making lately, hope everyone is staying safe. Hope everyone is had a good time during the snow throughout the weekend and was able to enjoy time with family and friends and watch a little bit of Hornets basketball during the stretch, during the snow, and so many great other things. So, 7 in a row now for Charlotte, and they are on a roll, making some headway throughout the Eastern Conference standings, being only one game back from the 10th place position for the play-in tournament spot, which I think is Chicago, and I will make a note of that right now. So that is so great to see with the Hornets winning 7 games in a row and also ending the homestand, which is a huge success before they get back onto the road for a quick 2 game road trip, which we'll get to, towards the end of this episode. The second thing I want to mention is the Hornets being down as much as 22. And if you Okay. The second thing I want to mention is the Hornets being down as much as 22. And looking back at the highlights and throughout watching this game yesterday, I thought they were left for dead. And I thought, okay, let's throw in the towel. It was a good run, winning 7 in a row. But turns out they did not back down. They did not give up. Grant Williams, LaMelo Ball, Ryan Caldwell, Con Knipple playing a huge factor. And once again, the starting lineup winning again for, I believe, the 12th or 13th time this year. So that is huge for the starting lineup of LaMelo Ball, Con Knipple, Brandon Miller, Miles Bridges, and Musa Diabate being in the starting lineup once again. And what a comeback throughout this game. And the Hornets were able to cut the lead down as much as 4 points at the end of the third quarter. And with a LaMelo Ball dunk, um, they finally took the lead, which is an 84-83 lead. And they were pretty much in good hands right after that. And the Pelicans were able to make a couple of runs, but the Hornets were able to capitalize on each response. So that is great to see that the Hornets were able to come all the way back and do things that we haven't seen yet. And this is a different Pelicans team that we saw back in November that I talked about in my very first video of Hornets recaps, where the Hornets lost to the New Orleans Pelicans back in November, which gave me New Orleans their first win of the year, which you can uh click right here, right now. And yeah, this was a totally different team that we saw back in November when it came to both sides of the teams of players being hurt. There was no Zion Williamson, no Grant Williams, no LaMelo Ball, no Brandon Miller um, in the November game. So the Pelicans were up to the challenge, being a stronger team in the So the Pelicans were up to the challenge, being up as much as 22 points, and with the Hornets making a comeback, which is very mature of them to see, and that gives me a little bit of confidence and a little bit of hope throughout the next few weeks. So we'll see what happens when it comes to that, and also the trade deadline coming up very soon. Now, in the early portion of this game against New Orleans last night, or yesterday rather, LaMelo Ball suffered an injury with a collision with head coach Charles Lee in the first 2.5 minutes into the first quarter. LaMelo Ball was going to a loose ball, and Charles Lee was trying to save that loose ball going into the stands, and all of a sudden, both heads collided into each other, which made LaMelo Ball hit the floor and was grimacing in pain, holding his eye, one of his eye with his hand. And luckily enough, he was able to get back up and head to the locker room. And with the crowd that was in attendance, it was the most quietest the arena has ever been in quite some time, because with LaMelo Ball being the star player of this team, they couldn't afford to lose a player that's been playing super well and contributing in so many different ways, rather than just being a knockdown shooter and just being a playmaker, having the assist throughout this game. And he was able to return and contribute and do some great things throughout and do his thing. So that was great to see him able to come back, and it wasn't a more significant injury than I thought it was watching on the telecast yesterday. And that was great to see. And LaMelo Ball was able to continue and put up the numbers that he did. When it comes to Charles Lee, he turned out to be okay as well. No minor injury to him and anybody involved, so that is good news there. And I just found this out for Charles Lee. He got Coach of the Month for the Eastern Conference for the month of January with the record 11-6 during that time span. So congratulations to Charles Lee and his coaching staff for doing such a great job during this time. And I want to give that quick shout out to Charles Lee and staff for letting Charles Lee, or giving Charles Lee rather, the coach of the month. Brandon Miller's streak of 20 points or more is finally over. And as you can see here, the streak came down to 10 20-point games when it dated back to the Los Angeles Lakers game. And I briefly kept showing this graphic throughout the segment, the last few episodes. So with Brandon Miller, he had 16 points in this game last night, and it was still a pretty solid game for Brandon Miller, and it wasn't meant to be for Brandon Miller to score 20 or more, but it's okay. But it turns out with Brandon Miller getting the Eastern Conference Player of the Week right before the Pelicans game tipped off, and that is great to see that he's putting up the numbers in such a impact throughout this winning streak. The next game for the Charlotte Hornets will take place against Houston on the road, which is a start of a two-game road trip, which is a short one. It will happen on Thursday, February 5th, 2026 at 8 o'clock p.m. And it should be an interesting game. Let's see if the Hornets can make it 8 in a row against Kevin Durant, who is putting up really good numbers throughout this season, and bringing up and possibly beating rather a top Western Conference opponent. So we'll see what happens from there. So that'll do it for another episode of Hornets Recaps. Again, my name is Keenan Costain, and if you like what you see, feel free to give it a like and subscribe down below for more. Let me know if I missed anything throughout this video, any stats, any comments that I might have missed. Feel free to let me know. And let me know as well about your thoughts on the New Orleans Pelicans game and the upcoming game against Houston on Thursday, February 5th, 2026. Tomorrow on Wednesday, there will be a trade deadline episode of some players that I think should be a talking point around the trade deadline that is happening this week. And that will come out very, very soon. And until next time, have a good one, folks. See ya. Bye.